Behind instead of guarding settlers as Native scouts get away. Then others join the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etch a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. As they walk by, the signals they are all in readiness. And by the late 1850s, the regulations outlined signal of safety arms and which soldiers were able to cross on ships. Well, my Lord said that when exactly became a soldier's uniform choice, as one as the qualities served. God was otherwise supported for the voice of the black and she as they march by, represent the Civil War era of our nation's history is the 4th Infantry Division based out of Fort Carson, Colorado.
From Court Cavazos, Texas, home of legends, the 1st Cavalry Division rides with pride. Born from the thunder of horse cavalry traditions of the Civil War, the 1st team forged its reputation on the front lines of history. They stormed Manila with the flying column, charged into Pyongyang as the first to breach the line and face the brutal crucible of Ia Drang, the first of 13 named campaigns in Vietnam where they proved their mettle. Today, that same warrior spirit lives on. You'll know the name, and you'll know them by their iconic cav hats, elite soldiers, and cutting-edge equipment. Tough, fit, fearless. The 1st Cavalry Division is a lethal, disciplined force that stands ready to fight and win anywhere, anytime, and the legacy rides on. This is the Cav. Special thanks to our sponsor, Lockheed Martin. In 1914, years of escalating competition between European alliances culminate in the outbreak of the First World War. The two sides engage in a savage war of attrition, defined by opposing trenches, barbed wire, poison gas, and mass casualties. The United States initially maintained its neutrality, but was eventually drawn into the conflict in 1917. Despite having less than 130,000 soldiers at the beginning, the Army eventually grew to over 4 million, with nearly 2 million soldiers serving in Europe. In 6 months of fighting, nearly 50,000 Americans lost their lives, with another 190,000 wounded. The guns fell silent with the armistice of November 11th, 1918. We continue on with more USA World War I rolling stock. This 1918 Dodge touring car was part of the legendary 1919 Transcontinental Convoy. 3,251 miles and 62 grueling days.
यार, दो कुत्ते.
Puppies.
Exactly. For a person who has never lived with dogs.
नया घर, नई फैमिली, नए तौर तरीके. शादी के बाद बहुत कुछ बदल जाता है.
लेकिन सिर्फ मेरे लिए ही क्यों?
Don't worry, used to हो जाऊंगा.
पर ये used to हो पाएंगे?
नई शुरुआत की जिम्मेदारी, कुछ तुम्हारी, कुछ हमारी. For marriages crafted by you, Riva by Tanishq.
Headquartered in New York, this is the 42nd Infantry Division Band. At the start of World War I, the 42nd Infantry Division was formed with troops from 27 National Guard units, stretching across the country like a rainbow. Composed of skilled musicians from all walks of life and professional occupations, they perform a variety of musical genres. Though their mission is primarily a musical one, the members were ordered into active federal service back in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 3. The band has also served in support of numerous state active duty missions, including cleanup efforts following Hurricane Sandy, distribution support during COVID-19, and recently, support for New York State Corrections. Commanded by Chief Warrant Officer 2 Ethan Wagner and led by Drum Major Sergeant First Class Drew Gans, the band is performing Over There, written in 1917 by Broadway composer and recipient of the Congressional Gold Medal George M. Cohan. Representing the World War I era is the 82nd Airborne Division, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You'll notice the unit is wearing replica World War I uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. When the Americans entered the Great War, our soldiers under the command of General Blackjack Pershing hit the trenches in the new standard. It was the olive drab winter service uniform. Now, on their heads, you'll see a steel helmet with sand-textured paint built to deflect deadly shrapnel from above. Not bulletproof, but battle tough. Nicknamed the Pershing boot, on their feet was the M918, 1918 French boot. It was designed to survive the brutal grind of trench warfare. And on their backs, the field pack, rations, ammo, first aid, and a gas mask. Everything a doughboy needed to fight and to win. Incidentally, the 42nd Infantry Division was deployed to heavy combat abroad and then deployed again in World War II, ultimately liberating the Dachau concentration camp. The 42nd responded to the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Later, with the war on terrorism, the rainbow stretched across the world again, deploying in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thundering into view, the pride of Fort Sill, the U.S. Army Artillery Half Section. This is literally powered by horsepower and heritage. This elite ceremonial unit honors the legacy of the Army's horse-drawn artillery. With precision, discipline, and 6 majestic horses pulling a vintage 1918 caisson, the half section keeps tradition alive and rolling strong. Representing the power, pride, and precision of America's field artillery, this is Fort Sill's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to our sponsor, Form Energy. World War II, a global fight for freedom. In history's darkest hour, the United States Army was on the front lines. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, the greatest generation faced down tyranny and turned the tide. From bombers to fighters to transports, U.S. Army aircraft started to thunder across the skies in World War II. And take a look up there, ladies and gentlemen. Flying overhead right now. They are fast, they are fierce, and famously used in the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Leading up front, the mighty B-25 Mitchell. Up next, the Cadillac of the Sky, the P-51 Mustang. From the sky, we're back down on the ground. In World War II, one vehicle led the charge, the legendary quarter-ton 4x4 command recon vehicle, the Jeep. You might have a Jeep in your driveway, but not like this. The U.S. Army truck quarter-ton 4x4 command reconnaissance, better known as the Jeep, was an iconic vehicle of World War II and was the world's first mass-produced four-wheel drive vehicle. The Army used the Jeep for almost every military activity, including command vehicles, scout cars, and medical ambulances. Fast, rugged, the Jeep became a symbol of American ingenuity. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause. The 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. In a global fight like World War II, the U.S. Army knew our troops needed more than courage. They needed innovation. Uniforms evolved for every environment, but olive drab remained the mark of the American soldier. Shaped by lessons from the trenches of World War I, the Army introduced two battlefield essentials: the M1 helmet, tough, stable, and built to protect under fire, and the M1 Garand rifle, powerful and fast. It gave American troops a very clear edge. General George S. Patton called the M1 rifle the greatest battle implement ever designed, and history proved him right. The 82nd Airborne Division. The unit is best known for their bravery on D-Day, when 12,000 parachute and glider troops destroyed German supply lines after fighting for 33 days straight. The 101st Airborne Division, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, traces its lineage back to 1918 when it first established as the 101st Division. Known for their ability to rapidly deploy across the world, the unit has held a crucial role in operations since its inception. From parachuting behind enemy lines on D-Day to leading helicopter assaults in Vietnam, the 101st redefined modern warfare. In the 50s, the Screaming Eagles stood tall at home, protecting the Little Rock Nine during the fight for civil rights. In recent decades, they've been sent across the world with stints as far as the Middle East, where they took part in Operation Desert Storm and participated extensively in the war on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Screaming Eagles continue to lead the way as tomorrow's division in today's Army. The iconic Sherman tank is here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the cornerstone of the U.S. Armed Forces, showing its military might in World War II. It became one of the most influential tank designs of the 20th century. The M4 tank was nicknamed the Sherman tank after Civil War General William Tecumseh Sherman. Actually, it was named by the British. With almost 50,000 produced during World War II, the Sherman tank was in active service until 1957. In World War II, the M16 half-track was a force to be reckoned with. It was a self-propelled anti-aircraft weapon with speed, firepower, and grit. Nicknamed the Meat Chopper, its quad 50 caliber mount could unleash 2,300 rounds a minute. Quite devastating. It served through Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, and remains in use in U.S. allies to this day. The M16 half-track brings the fight wherever it rolls. The U.S. Army Transportation Corps motto states, "Nothing happens until something moves." That was never more true than with this. Look at this, the 2.5-ton Chevrolet Deuce and a Half. It can move up to 10,000 pounds of cargo and was the backbone of the Red Ball Express that kept the Allies supplied after D-Day in World War II. The Korean War, often referred to as the Forgotten War, began on June 25, 1950, with the North Korean Army's invasion of South Korea. A coalition of South Korea, the United States, and other United Nations members defeated the invasion and advanced into North Korea. The coalition fought and defeated 2 Chinese offensives in the spring of 1951. Armistice negotiations began shortly after that defeat in July of 1951 until the armistice was signed 2 years later in 1953. Combat consisted of small attacks, raids, and patrolling. During this war, the United States deployed approximately 6.8 million military forces to the Korean Peninsula. Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase. The M151 kept rolling along as the lightweight, high-mobility general-purpose vehicle replacing the famed World War II Jeep back in 1961. Officially named the Military Utility Tactical Truck, or MUT, most servicemen generally referred to it as a Jeep. The vehicle spanned more than 40 years in 4 manufacturers and were everywhere that the Army was deployed. Another rolled by earlier, and at 2.5 tons, this Deuce and a Half, the M35A2 classic military transport truck, was a mainstay of the U.S. Army for decades, particularly during the Vietnam War and Operation Iraqi Freedom. The Deuce and a Half proved its value moving cargo, supplies, and soldiers. Its capabilities include up to 5,000 pounds off-road and 10,000 pounds on-road, making it ideal for moving just about anything. In the jungles of Vietnam, the U.S. Army faced a new kind of war. Helicopters became the new workhorses of battle, delivering troops, firepower, and supplies into some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. This is the U.S. Army in Vietnam, the era of air mobility, fierce firefights, and unwavering brotherhood. And over the music marching through, the roar of these legendary Army helicopters takes to the air. Flying overhead right now, they help define the Vietnam War. That staccato beat of the rotor blades was a welcome sound to many troops mired in combat. From transport and medevac to close air support and reconnaissance, they brought the fight to the front and pulled the wounded to safety. The OH-6 Cayuse scouted the terrain with unmatched agility. The AH-1 Cobra, also nicknamed the Snake, brought serious firepower. Its slim design, as you can see here, helped it survive and thrive in hostile environments to protect soldiers below. And the icon of the era, the the UH-1 Huey, the first turbine-powered helicopter in service with the U.S. military. There was nothing the Huey couldn't do. General support, air assault, cargo transport, medic evacuation, and ground attack missions. The Cayuse, Cobra, and Huey, ladies and gentlemen, three iconic Army symbols in the sky. The 1st Cavalry Division Band, based out of Fort Cavazos, Texas, has played a vital role in U.S. military history. Since its origins back in 1855 as the band of the 2nd Cavalry, it has supported operations from the Civil War to Desert Storm. Over time, it's evolved into a powerful force using music to strengthen bonds between soldiers and engage with communities. From World War II in Korea to the Vietnam War in Bosnia, the 1st Team Band has enhanced morale and upheld the division's enduring legacy. Today, the band continues its mission using music to shape perceptions, foster trust, and promote national Army and division interests. Standing ready to serve, it remains an enduring symbol of the 1st Cavalry Division's legacy and commitment to duty. The band performs Hit the Leather and Ride, a march composed by Captain Robert Meredith Wilson. This piece reflects the cavalry's transition from horses to mechanized warfare, capturing the speed, the resilience, and the tradition of the division. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, everybody, the 1st Cavalry Division Band. The U.S. Army deployed large numbers of troops in support of the Vietnam War. The first contingent of U.S. Army advisors arrived in Vietnam in the late 1950s, and that quickly grew to a small team of around 100 soldiers, which then expanded to more than 600 over the next decade. As the war intensified, troops' numbers quickly grew as the war between the South Vietnamese government and the communist insurgents supported by North Vietnam intensified. By January 1969, more than 364,200 soldiers organized around 7 divisions and 20 separate combat brigades. The United States began withdrawing its forces in July of 1969, and the last Army combat unit left South Vietnam in August of 71. The last U.S. combat soldier came home March 1973, while a small number of non-combat personnel remained until April 1975. Representing the Vietnam War era is the 101st Airborne Division based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The unit is wearing replica Vietnam War uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. Blistering heat, thick humidity, and unforgiving terrain demanded uniform innovation, and the Army, they delivered. New lightweight uniforms were constructed to move with the soldier. The M16 replaced the M1 Garand, calling for redesigned ammo gear and faster reloads in combat. Body armor got smarter, jackets and trousers got lighter, and field equipment was reimagined to meet the mission head-on. Gone were the heavy Mickey Mouse boots, replaced by canvas tropical combat boots that offered better grip, faster drying, and all-day endurance. Special thanks to our sponsor, Oracle. When Saddam Hussein's Iraq invaded Kuwait in August 1990, the U.S. Army deployed to Saudi Arabia to deter further Iraqi aggression in the region for what was known as Operation Desert Shield. By the fall, more than 750,000 troops comprising U.S. service members and coalition partners from more than 30 countries had assembled in the Saudi Arabian desert. In mid-January 1991, the U.S.-led coalition began Operation Desert Storm, which kicked off with an intensive air campaign designed to knock out key Iraqi infrastructure and weaken Iraqi forces. The ground offensive was launched in early 1991, where military forces overwhelmingly destroyed enemy tanks and vehicles. After only 100 hours of ground combat, coalition troops liberated Kuwait and the Gulf War ended with Iraq's surrender. From Fort Riley, Kansas, this is the 1st Infantry Division, one of the Army's most storied divisions. Nicknamed the Big Red One because of the distinctive red on their unit patch. As the oldest continuously serving division in the U.S. Army, the unit has participated in every major operation since World War I, living up to its motto, no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first. The 1st Infantry Division was originally established as the 1st Expeditionary Division in 1917 and spearheaded the American Expeditionary Forces in France during World War I. In World War II, the Fighting First stormed Omaha Beach on D-Day and liberated Nazi concentration camps. The highly decorated unit has had 37 members of the Big Red One awarded the Medal of Honor. In Washington, D.C., the 1st Division Monument stands in President's Park, memorializing those who died while serving in the 1st Infantry Division. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the Big Red One, the 1st Infantry Division. More military rolling stock. During Operation Desert Storm, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle proved its value on the battlefield. It is fast, it is tough, and it is lethal. Named for General Omar Bradley, a leader from West Point's famed class of 1916, the Bradley was built to carry troops into combat with protection and power. Armed with a 25mm chain-driven cannon and twin-tube launched optically tacked wire-guided missiles, it played a critical role in clearing the way during the ground assault into Iraq. While the Paladin looks and sounds like a tank, it is technically a self-propelled howitzer and was first introduced back in the 1960s. Over the years, it's been upgraded to perform in versatile battlefields from Vietnam to the Soviet Union to Iraq. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. The 1st Armored Division, nicknamed Old Ironsides, is the oldest, most recognizable armored division in the United States Army. As part of the buildup for World War II, cavalry and reconnaissance units were brought together to form the 1st Armored Division in 1940. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. Old Ironsides really led the way. During Desert Storm, they engaged in some of the largest tank battles in Army history. There were decisive victories, shattering enemy formations. Based in Fort Bliss, Texas, America's Tank Division is currently supporting missions in 20 countries across 5 continents. From World War II to today, Old Ironsides remains battle-proven and always ready. First used in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, the N-119 howitzer brought precision firepower to the front lines. Lighter or mobile than larger artillery, it was built for the infantry brigade, able to fire high in the air or directly at the target depending on the mission. Whether used as battery formation or as a standalone support weapon, the N-119 delivered reliable, responsible fire when it mattered most. Still in service today, including on the front lines of Ukraine, it remains a trusted part of the Army's arsenal. Special thanks to our sponsor, UFC. terrorists destroyed the World Trade Center in New York City and struck the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. using commercial airliners. In response, the U.S. launched the global war on terrorism. The U.S. will stop potential threats around the world and take the fight to terrorist groups and the nations that back them. The Army immediately deployed forces to Afghanistan to destroy Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist organization and oppose his sponsors, the ruling Taliban. The 2003 President Bush expanded the war to Iraq. Soldiers and other armed services overthrew Iraq's dictator Saddam Hussein. The fight to stabilize Iraq and prevent terrorist groups from overthrowing its new government continues to this day. The campaign in Afghanistan lasted until 2021 when U.S. forces withdrew and the Taliban returned to power. Over the course of the two-decade conflict, over 2 million servicemen and women, less than 1% of the American population, deployed in support of the global war on terrorism. Most of those who served were members of the United States Army. counterterrorism saw the introduction of new technologies on the battlefield. The 8-wheeled Striker armored combat vehicle is the first military vehicle to enter service in the U.S. Army since the vehicle was launched back in the 1980s. The vehicle was developed to fill a gap in the Army's infantry. The Striker armored combat vehicle was must provide protection in open terrain and transport infantry quickly to critical battlefield positions. The first Striker vehicles were fielded back in 2002, with the first Striker brigade combat team flying to Iraq in 2003. U.S. Army regulars predated Revolutionary War, fought in the 1830s as one of the regular Army, and patrolled the frontier of Ohio and western Illinois on horseback. If you like some Daniel Boone and Abraham Lincoln in their ranks, after the 11/11 terrorist attacks, called upon to lead the way in as part of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, the 78th Regiment, based out of North Carolina, represents a lethal background flexible force capable of conducting many complex joint special operations. Today's Ranger is the Army's premier action training force. It is always combat ready, mentally and physically tough, and prepared to fight our country's adversaries. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command is an elite group of individuals who lead and succeed in protecting the country from their threats. Composed of 5 units with unique specialties, Special Operations forces small tactical teams taking on the most challenging and sensitive missions. Military legends and service members and civilians alike, they take on terrorists and hostile missions in foreign countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. Army Special Forces. Fighting at a lucid feeling of distant places the United States does not face the challenging international environment alone. Our allies and partners is an advantage adversaries over 80 nations have fought alongside the United States or assisted in during the War on Terror. After a period spent as active as a division, the
2002, 10-pound division based out of Fort Collins has been the most deployed regular Army unit. Excluding battle brigades, it's seen about 20 deployments in Afghanistan, ranked 300 in operation. To show America's military might, they have one purpose: to deter war and if order to defeat the enemies of the United States of America. They are the 10th Mountain Division. Investments in cutting-edge systems, new technology, and air-to-power capabilities strengthen the force, equip soldiers with the tools they need to protect the country and democracy. The Army is 8-strength brigade that's in 6-man more than two-thirds of the 7,000 servicemen equipped sacrificed their lives fighting the terrorism. Part of the Army's new divisions, the forces, the Army Reserve, and the National Guard. The Army is continuously transforming the deterrent mission to ensure our adversaries cannot outrange or outpace us. This transformation is not just about battle, it's about maintaining ensuring that America's Army remains unmatched in speed, flexibility, and ability to support the nation's strategic priorities.
by securing greater prompt and sustainable progress by many forces across the Spread across the parade today, numerous fighting vehicles, some designed for very specific functions and others for flexibility, but they all must be maintained. With over 200,000 pieces of mechanisms, ensure the fleet of vehicles are ready. These mechanics get the job done. This complex starts with the M777 lightweight howitzer. These lightweight howitzers may not look particularly lightweight, but made from titanium. They are 7,000 pounds lighter than the predecessor, the F-128. Used by the Army since 2005, the F-27 is currently used to bring over 4,700 pounds. Smaller, Desert Storm in 1991 is also seeing active use in Ukraine. The 7th Infantry Division stationed at Joint Base Lewis McCord has been seeing continuous combat action ever since activation of World War I. From Europe to the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Korea, Afghanistan, and the Pacific, the Bayonet Division boasts a proud history of answering the call of its motto, Trust in Me, with resolute dedication. Sent to deployments and conflicts around the globe since it was founded, the division returned to Fort Lewis in 1971, its first time on American soil since 1934. The 7th Division, originally called the Hourglass Division due to their factual gained the nickname Bayonet Division. Bayonet Division surrendered deployments in Korea in June of 1950. And in Charlotte, the operational site was credited with plunging the bayonet in the heart of the enemy. The 13 members of the division and the 7th Brigade against the state combat readiness of 2 Striker Brigade combat teams and combat aviation brigade. With the American soldier, everything the Army does, we are continuously transforming. Army careers span the spectrum from information astronauts and mechanics to engineers. The Army's greatest asset, the finest men and women our great nation has evolved, with a myriad of talents that make us strong. Aside from speaking, the Army's next greatest asset is its technology and equipment. Coming up next, these vehicles offer a glimpse of what the Army employs for readiness and battle. The portable howitzers and the foldable Abrams tank were used extensively in the Gulf War along with Bradley tanks and the infantry squad vehicle. The ISB provides enhanced tactical mobility of an infantry brigade combat team. This allows commanders greater freedom of movement and action. The ISB provides the warfighter with increased flexibility to ensure infantry units maintain momentum to achieve mission success. When duty calls, U.S. Army soldiers don't just answer, they lead. From Fort Bragg, witness a powerful demonstration of strength, purpose, and the unmatched capability of today's Army.
The Army has made me see my potential, and I feel like it's molded me into a better person.
I grew up in a very patriotic household. My grandfather, he served in World War II, and his brother, my uncle, served in Vietnam. I can do this. If they can do this, I can do this.
When I was born, my dad was still serving in the military, and him coming home in his uniform, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
Clear for takeoff. My motivation, I think it follows in line. I think with what my family's done is kind of a sense of duty to serve our country and give back since it's given us so much.
I'm a very, I say timid person, but definitely helped me become a more confident person.
Working with a group and my peers, it really shows how much working with a team can strengthen you.
All right, ready to go? Ready to go. I derive a lot of purpose from serving others. I think serving something bigger than myself gets me out of bed every day. Yeah, keep going up, keep going up.
I definitely pushed myself further than I ever thought I could go.
I joined military service because I want to deploy. That's my main goal, is deploy, deploy, deploy.
If we get the call, we have to go somewhere, we'll do what needs to be done. That's just the way we operate here.
This is one of the few jobs in the nation where we all take part in this. For you, and they're willing to put their life on the line for you.
I got it. Yeah, it's good. From the very beginning, it's like at the very beginning, like the power something going That started about an hour ago. I think it was my favorite time for a book. The voices in my head, well done. Greatest reading moments. I feel like it's the same thing over and over again. It's like self-feeding up in military. I'm going to loop around and do it one more time. Go around the block, boys. Or girls. Take a little stretch their piece of camera. Maybe they looked at the mother and got a little out. I love the other.
Joint Base Ellsworth in Alaska is the home to America's Arctic Angels, who execute expeditionary operations worldwide, conduct multi-domain operations in the Indo-Pacific theater and the Arctic, and on order decisively defeat any adversary in extreme cold weather, mountainous and high-latitude environments through large-scale combat operations. The Angels are the Army's only Arctic division. Masters of Arctic warfare, the 11th serves worldwide in all climates. Established in November of 1942, the Angels of the 11th Airborne Division led the way in the Philippines during World War II and spearheaded an amphibious invasion of Luzon and distinguished themselves during the liberation of Manila. After a period spent inactive and stationed in Germany from 1963 to 65, the division operated as the 11th Air Assault Division with the mission of testing and refining the Army's helicopter-centric air mobility doctrine. Activated once again in June of 2022, they remain dedicated to defending America's interests throughout the Arctic, in Alaska, and beyond. The 11th Airborne Division, America's Arctic Angels. Requiring ongoing maintenance in the field and on base because nothing happens until something moves, wheeled vehicle mechanics supervise and perform maintenance, repair, and recovery operations on vehicles that serve the Army in a variety of missions. Included in the array of artillery such as Paladins and the Abrams tank is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle known as the JLTV. It's highly adaptable, providing protected and sustained ability for personnel and vehicles. The JLTV is known for its off-road capability while providing armor against small arms and improvised explosive devices. The JLTV, right there.
U.S. Army Reserve is separately.
This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is
among them 5 future presidents and first recipients of a grand military declaration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's military expansion began. The Army is guarding settlements as labor scouts in the way. Then the American cause and the Buffalo Soldiers etch a legacy of great honor across the American frontier. As they go by, singing their role in their readiness. And by the late 1830s, military allies still are saving the arms and devotion solely the nation's heroes. Well, my Lord said that exactly what we gave the soldiers uniform choice. As long as they did all things conservative. God was otherwise supported for Christ of the life and see all as we march by, representing the Civil War era of our nation's history is the 4th Division based out of Fort Carson, Colorado.
Battle of the Bulge, surrounded by the forces of the frozen forests of Belgium on December 1924, soldiers of the 103rd Airborne held the line. Company's 2nd Battalion, 327th Infantry Regiment, 1st Mobile Brigade, 101st Air Division, Mascot. They are showcasing the Army's transformation contact division, a program that allows the Army to rapidly test and evaluate and equip our soldiers with the newest technologies. Modern mobile and mission ready, the best brigade continues to identify threats while staying needed for carrying resilience and they're carrying the next generation squad weapons, the XM7 and XM250, both equipped with the XM157. Vehicles are the infantry squad vehicle, a newly asset that rapidly moving through most terrain types. The trailer is the SRF-18 that is capable of carrying heavy loads under 1 hour in restricted terrain. This platoon is equipped with 3 types of small unmanned aerial systems. They are the Ghost X located on the S-18. You see the G100, and right above us there, the X-1080, which are flying above the formation right now. Designed as a troop transport tank killer and to match speed of the naval tank, Bradley is a warrior's fighting machine. Bradley accompanies tank nicknamed the Beast, and good steering because of its firepower, accuracy, accuracy while moving and remaining still. Together, they offer mobility and firepower, a fearsome combination. And high in the sky, the AH-64 Apache is the premier attack helicopter in the world. The Apache entered service in the mid-1980s and continued to evolve and modify to meet the model threats. It's been delivered intense fire on the battlefield with a range of aerial rockets, got alpha missiles and up to 30-millimeter cannon fire. The aircraft you see here is configured with a sophisticated targeting radar system that can operate in port visibility and in the black at night. With more than 1,280 aircraft in operation, over 5 million flight hours, 1.3 billion women. Now that the AH-64 Apache represents the backbone of the U.S. Army's attack helicopter fleet and a growing network of international defense forces. Special thanks to our sponsor, Now, let's roll on to the future of Army rivers. The Army Research Laboratory robot dogs reflect the latest in Army innovation. Look at this. Much like a true canine, these robots can go where soldiers cannot. They have increased mobility, improved tactical awareness, reduced risk to soldiers, and advanced teamwork. Replacing soldiers, robot dogs can explore terrain that may be difficult for soldiers to traverse. Explosive weapons and active defensive posture, increasing capacity. The ghost robot is another innovation that can adapt seamlessly to various missions from real-time bomb regulation. These dogs reduce risk and support soldiers with frequent advanced techniques. They have a standard and a reachable 6.7 miles per hour sprint. As the oldest continuously serving Army band and the oldest unit at West Point, this is the United States Military Academy Band, ladies and gentlemen. West Point Band traces its history to a single drummer and fighter founded by George Washington during the American Revolution. Over the next 2 centuries, this band evolved into one of the most capable and versatile performing groups in the world. One of the most prestigious institutions in the world where leadership is formed and duty becomes destiny. This is West Point, where Army leaders are made. With the motto of duty, honor, and country, West Point trains the best fighters to serve their country as Army officers. Founded in 1882 by President Thomas Jefferson, West Point is the home of the long gray line, a legacy of courage and excellence where they include 77 Medal of Honor recipients, 2 U.S. presidents, Brandon Eisenhower, British generals, including John James Pershing, Douglas MacArthur, and Lawrence Schwarzkopf. Upon entering the United States Army, all recruits undergo initial entry training, a highly intense and challenging training period aimed at developing a soldier's physical and mental toughness, instill discipline, train them in essential combat skills, and foster teamwork. IET transforms civilians into soldiers based on the 7 core Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. The Virginia Military Institute, on a mission to produce citizen soldiers, men and women educated for civilian life, prepared to serve their country in the armed forces. VMI counts on Nobel Prize winner, 11 Rhodes Scholars, generals, 7 Medal of Honor recipients, and a Pulitzer Prize winner among its graduates. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, students at Virginia Military Institute can participate in Army ROTC or the Corps of Cadets. While cadets in the Corps can serve in any branch of the United States military or pursue other careers, those in Army ROTC earn their commission as officers, ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Blue Ridge Battalion commissions approximately 130 second lieutenants, ensuring that excellence in leadership continues in generations to come. The Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, offers students the opportunity to participate in Army ROTC or the Historic Corps of Cadets. Founded in 1842, the Citadel is the third oldest of the senior military colleges and is known for its Corps of Cadets living and studying under a classical military system that makes leadership and character development essential. While military service is not required in graduation, more than 120 students earn their commission each year through the Army Senior ROTC Palmetto Battalion, playing a vital role in shaping the future. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, Texas A&M University is home to both Army ROTC and the renowned Corps of Cadets. The Corps of Cadets' central purposes has remained building individuals that exemplify respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Students at the university who participate in the Army ROTC earn their commission as officers ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Warrior Training Battalion at Texas A&M proudly commissions more than 90 second lieutenants and is honored to shape the future leaders of the U.S. Army. In a powerful display of commitment, these future soldiers will raise their right hand and take an oath of enlistment, pledging to serve our nation. This joint formation is proudly led by the Joint Task Force, National Capital Region, and the Military District of Washington Retention Team. Shaping tomorrow's Army, West Point's most inspiring cadets remind us that America's future is courageous and in capable hands.
The pride to serve my country knows that I'm doing it not for myself. Every day I put on the uniform, not just representing Caroline Robinson. I'm representing my company here at the Academy. I'm representing West Point. I'm representing the United States Army, and ultimately, I'm representing the United States of America.
I really came to West Point because belief in the American dream and giving back to our country.
You're a part of something that is much bigger than yourself. You're a part of a tradition of excellence and a legacy that's connected not only to the Academy, but to the American Army.
I'm surrounded by people who want to make themselves better and serve our country.
Excellence is their baseline, and that to me is what it means to be a West Point cadet.
From the earliest days of our nation, this supreme tradition of American military service has been passed down from soldier to soldier and generation to generation, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
My brother preceded me here, and originally I didn't really know what West Point was until he came. But when I saw the mission that they were committed to, of upholding the principles of American democracy and protecting the Constitution, I knew it was somewhere I had to be.
Every time that we lived outside of the United States, I always developed this sense of gratitude and pride of being an American, and I wanted to give back to my country what it gave to me.
And it wasn't until I zipped up the blouse and I put the belt on for the first time that I realized that I was going to be serving my country, and it felt right. West Point was the place that I needed to be. And more importantly, the Army was where I wanted to be.
I just looked to the left and right over basic training and realized that we all had the same American patch on our shoulders, that we're all fighting for the same thing. I mean, there was no better feeling in the world knowing that every single person around you is committed and willing to die for that mission.
You came for excellence, you came for duty, you came to serve your country, and you came to show yourselves that you are among the smartest, toughest, strongest, most lethal warriors ever to walk on this planet.
What excites me the most about my future in the Army is the opportunity that I'm going to have to give back to the American soldiers that I'm going to be leading.
Because ultimately, they don't get to choose. And to me, it's that burden of responsibility to be the best leader.
And as a young officer, that's going to be exactly what I get to do.
I was the cadet basic. I'm watching them grow so quickly.
I would do all the formations, and I looked out at these 1,000 new cadets, people who just come out of high school. They were
I don't think there's another institution in the country like West Point where the student body is so committed to furthering the mission of America and ensuring.
I'm really surrounded by the best of the best. And that's when I realized this is a place that I absolutely want to be.
West Point itself is an amazing institution, but it only provides opportunities. The people here have to choose to take those opportunities and grow and lead and serve. And the people here want to do that. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And I would tell any high schooler who is considering it, you won't regret it.